Well, it's also exciting, Mark. I meant to ask you all fair. We're in preseason magazine season. We've seen Athlon, Lindy's, Phil Steele dropped his early VIP bundle, and I've been able to take a look at some of those. We're starting to see like preseason all SEC teams and some predicted orders of finish in the East, the West. And so once you start seeing stuff like that, you get that feeling and you know that kickoff's just around the corner. I mean, man, we've talked about it a lot. I mean, just in a month, it's not that long. SEC Media Days, and then it's just full steam ahead from there. So, Mark, it's always a pleasure to chat with you, though, man. I hope you're doing well.
So, Chris, when you bring up Preseason Publications, me, like everybody else, yes, excited to see them, want to see the comparisons, want to get down deep into the personnel breakdowns and really get acquainted with the teams. To show you where I'm located, the voice of college football, where we are located here in Connecticut, I've been to, I'll call them out, CVS, Walgreens, Walmart, Barnes and Noble, with like 6 or 7 magazine racks that are, 8 or 10 feet long on both sides. No college football magazines, none, anywhere, none. Nobody cares.
And we're getting them like a day early here. I had buddies sending me pictures of the Athlon magazine like the day before it was actually supposed to hit newsstands. So, yeah, I mean, obviously you can't get your hands on it fast enough here. I will say the only thing I've got, the bone to pick I have with Athlon in the Columbia Publix, which is where I got mine. It's got a picture of Will Shipley, Clemson running back, on the cover. I'm like, you couldn't have at least sent the Gamecock cover to Columbia? But
or they usually regionalize it and have a Clemson guy and a South Carolina guy.
Yeah, this is like the national Athlon magazine, I guess. Or they were just lazy. I don't know. Either way, it is what it is.
Well, Chris, getting to preseason prognostications of sorts, what also came out here in the last few days were the over-unders. And considering that South Carolina's got 3 games non-conference besides the Clemson game that seem like they're practically automatic wins, sitting at 5.5 for the win total for South Carolina out of Vegas seems a bit slim.
Yeah, I tell you what, man. I mean, I don't want to say it's free money, but I will tell you that I would be willing to tell you to bet everything you can afford to lose on that over. And, next month when I start talking my predictions, I will drop my best case and my worst case. And these are realistic best case and worst case scenarios, right? It's not like best case is you go 12-0, but my realistic best case and worst case. And it's just barring major injuries at key positions, it's so hard for me to see this team missing a bowl game. I would almost turn the question, though, Mark, on to you, because when I see that number, it almost kind of reminds me of the number last year when the number was 3.5. I thought that was totally disrespectful. I understand it was Shamer's first year and the roster was in a really interesting place. And, of course, the quarterback position, what happened. But what that 3.5 number told me is that Vegas expected South Carolina to lose to either East Carolina or Troy. Because to me, that was the only way they were going to win less than 4 games, right? So when I look at like a 5.5 number, and then I see the line for week 1 against Georgia State come out at 11. Mark, I want to ask you to flip it on you from the national perspective. Do you see South going to possibly being on upset alert week 1 against Georgia State? Because to me, the only way Carolina goes 5-7 is if you lose a game like to a Georgia State, or you get upset by a Vanderbilt, or, you inexplicably maybe lose to Mizzou at home. I think even if you lost that one, you could still go 6-6. But again, I'll turn it back on you, because I was surprised to see that number came out about a couple of weeks ago or so. The Gamecocks favored by just 11. We had Sean Elliott on my airwaves, and obviously he's beloved by Gamecock fans. And I think that's a game, of course, we all expect to win, but that 11 number is interesting. That's much lower than I thought it would come out.
Well, Georgia State went to Auburn. That was just last year. They went to Auburn.
Lost by 10.
They lost by 10. I remember watching other games. Of course, Auburn, Georgia State was not on my radar. I'm watching like 12 other games at the same time, but I'm looking at that score, and I remember diving in on that one, and then I actually watched the extended highlights to see actually what happened, and it was closer than that. Georgia State had opportunities to pull off an upset.
They were in the lead almost that entire game, and Auburn, I think, converted some 4th and whatever, and
they did
turn the
game.
But yeah, Georgia State was in control of that ball game.
Yes, they also had a lead maybe with 5 or 6 minutes left in the game, and somebody dropped a screen pass that would have gone like 50 yards for them. So anyway, not rehashing all of that. We see this from time to time. Of course, App State upset South Carolina. What was that, 2 or 3 years ago?
2019. I was also going to say Georgia State beat Tennessee 2 years ago. So I mean,
Yes.
they have
Yes.
gone into SEC venues and won before or played very, very good football games. And yeah, 3
Yes.
years ago it was Appalachian State that beat Will Muschamp in South Carolina at Williams-Brice Stadium. So again, it's a game, Mark, that I turn that question on you because I think Gamecock fans, when they see that number and they think of that season opener, they scoff. I mean, obviously Gamecock fans see that 5.5, and I think if you're going to bet that number, listen, realistically, taking all my bias out of it, if I was setting an over-under for South Carolina where I said I'm going to get even money on both sides, because at the end of the day, that's the goal for the book, right? They want even money on both sides. To me, I think 6.5 makes more sense, right? 5.5 just feels so low with Rattler and all the additions.
And that's
I mean,
why I'm bringing it up.
if you were bringing back the exact same roster as last year, maybe you just added the recruiting class and quarterback was still a question, then I would understand 5.5. But 5.5 with Rattler under center? I mean, most fans would consider 6 and 6 falling short of expectations adding him, right? I mean, 5 and 7 would be, abysmal. I mean, it would be an abysmal year. I mean,
and again, Chris, that's why I'm bringing that up, because
Yeah.
that just slapped me across the face when I saw 5.5. I've got a particular caller that calls me up,
Right.
and he's way ahead of me on the over unders. And I was
Right.
late to the game on the over unders, and he will have me guess them before he asks me over or under on a particular team. He went through the whole list, and I'm not a betting dude, but I'm interested in it, but I'm
Right.
not like some expert. But I guessed within a half game to a game on everybody across the country where Vegas had them landed. But when I saw that 5.5 on South Carolina, I got to admit, I was like, really 5.5? And then I looked
Yeah.
at the schedule and saw there are 3 wins in the non-conference that are 98% certainties. And then there's Vandy.
Mhm. And that's what I was going to say, Mark, is that to play devil's advocate, though, you go through the schedule. You're favored against Georgia State. You'll be a dog against Arkansas and Georgia. You're favored against Charlotte, favored against SC State. You're going to be a dog at Kentucky. You'll be a dog to A&M. I think you'll be favored against Mizzou. There's a lot of football to play until then, but I just think at home, I don't think Mizzou's going to be all that great, right? You'll be a favorite at Vanderbilt. At Florida, what's Florida going to be? South Carolina historically is not good in the swamp. Let's call that a pick 'em. You're a dog to Tennessee, most likely, and you're a dog at Clemson. So, I mean, realistically, you're only a favorite in 5 games, maybe 6. And I think best case scenario 6. So when you look at it from that side of things, then I'm like, well, okay, I guess I see why they put it at 5.5. But it's still like, if you're betting that, I don't know how you can bet the under. It's either a bet the over or don't play it.
Chris, I will go with the adage that gets thrown out from time to time that if you see a number with Vegas that seems like an obvious selection, beware.
Right. And
beware,
if you see the public all on one side, fade it. But I will say there are at times, over under win totals that I think you can really take advantage of. But, again, even looking at last year, 3.5 was another one where it's like, this feels like a slap in the face. South Carolina's got enough talent to go win at minimum 4 games. And they went 7 and 6. But when you look at their season last year, how close was Carolina to going 4 and 8? Could have lost to East Carolina, beat them on a last-second field goal, beat Troy by single digits, should have lost to Vandy. And if you lose to Vandy, I don't think you beat Florida and Auburn. I just think you're so down and out mentally. So, things broke for Carolina the right way, but, it could have gone south. It could have gone sideways. You could have gone 4 and 8. You could have been flirting with that 3.5 number. So, hey, listen, they don't build those mansions out in the desert off winners' money. You know what I mean? They know what they're doing. The Sharps, they know what they're doing. But I can tell you this. It's hard for me. Like I said, it's really hard for me to fathom South Carolina going 5 and 7. That's really tough for me to wrap my head around.